Donald Trump, as you might know, in New York, wrapping up the third day of his civil fraud trial. But right now, his presence also being felt right here in Washington, particularly among Republicans who have floated his name as a potential replacement for the Speaker of the House. Trump was asked about it during a break for the trial earlier today. Watch.
A lot of people have been calling me about Speaker. All I can say is we'll do whatever is best for the country and for the Republican Party.
Would you take the job? Would you take the job?
We have some great people.
Would you take the job?
But we're leading by like 50 points for president. You know, my focus is totally on that. If I can help them during the process, I would do it.
All right, Chris, so the fact that we're even talking about this, is this showing the state of affairs for House Republicans right now, or the state of affairs of Donald Trump's essentially grip and control over the Republican Party?
Oh, I don't know about that. I think what it shows is that it's a catnip kind of story. Once Americans find out that anybody can be Speaker of the House, that you don't have to be a member of the House, and then you start saying, well, who could it be? Could it be Oprah? Could it be who could it be? Is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson available? And then somebody says, what about Donald Trump? But here's what you have to remember. There's no good reason for Donald Trump to do it. And even if he wanted to do it, it would be unlikely that he could achieve. I don't know that Donald Trump could get 160 votes, let alone, what does he need, 260?
In the Republican caucus?
Well, he needs half. He needs a majority of the majority in a secret conference-only ballot. Of course, then they go to the then they go to the floor, and we have to see if people are going to keep their commitments to abide by the winner of this conference-only vote.
And there are Republicans still in the House who voted to impeach him once before. I can't imagine that desire is there. And plus, that's a hideous job, right? I would rather train bees with my bare hands than have to be Speaker of the House. And if you think Donald Trump would enjoy doing that, or that would be helpful to him, there's no way. Here's
what he posted on Truth Social. He posted this image just a little while ago, 3 o'clock Eastern hour here on the East Coast. He's playing into it, Kara. Why even go down this road and sort of tease the idea?
Well, he's doing what he does best. He's a showman, right? He's a negotiator. He's the art of the deal. This is who he is. And I think you put your finger on it when it came to the Republican standard bearer, because we know he's the leader of a movement. You know, that's been teased out in our public consciousness for years and years now. He is leading the way when it comes to what conservatives, frankly, are thinking, what the GOP base is actually after. He's changed a lot of things, and he's, I think, living up to who he's always been when it comes to conservatives and how we think, and especially on Main Street.
Look, he likes attention. He's happy to encourage anything that garners some positive attention. I think what we need to remember about congressional leadership votes, especially a vote for Speaker of the House, is that the constituency here is not voters. It is not American voters at the ballot box. It is the members of the Republican conference. That's who you cater to. And let me tell you what they want. They want somebody who can negotiate legislation, who understands congressional process, who can raise money to help them preserve their majority and grow their majority. This is not about satisfying their voters at home. That's their job. This is, Patrick McHenry once told me, currently the Speaker pro tem, House Financial Services Chairman, once told me that politics is a service business. And when you're in leadership, you're not really leading them because you have a bunch of different bosses who themselves have a bunch of different bosses.
What did Mitch McConnell say? It was like being at a gravesite. It's like the people underneath you not listening or something like that.
Correct. And so to win this job, somebody is going to have to show this group that they can handle things legislatively, negotiate with Democrats, and deliver them more seats next fall.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.